10 a.m., the 5th of November 2025. South China Sea, 30 nautical miles. W divided by SW of Scarborough Shoal. USS Higgins holds 15 knots, SPY-1DV, painting a clean horizon until it isn't. The picture splits, duplicate tracks, jittering symbols, latency spikes across link networks. EW spike, bearing 275, wideband, headsets rasp with grit. Bridge has visual 4-plan hulls. Type 52D profile, spacing to form a box. No fire control lights, no missile doors, just posture and angle. The MH-60R overhead passes clean video. Then the data link thins, drops, returns in bursts. SLQ-32 flags, sweepers, and deceptive techniques. Range gates wander. False skin returns breed along our starboard arc. Orders hold. Presence. De-escalation. Weapons tight. Helm shifts 2 degrees to preserve CPA. MCON drills prepped. Analog backups open. CIC pushes cross-checks ESM. AIS anomalies. Optical confirmation. The sea stays calm, the net does not. Inside the box, Higgins breathes shallow and keeps moving. Scarborough had always been a pressure point a reef claimed, occupied, and watched. For the U.S. Navy, the Higgins transit was routine, logged under Freedom of Navigation Operations. For Beijing, it was intrusion. Each side read the same chart but in different languages of intent. At 10:07 a.m., the planned destroyers tightened spacing, moving from 8,000 to 6,000 yards. Their wakes formed geometric precision, boxing Higgins on 3 sides. The 4th closed by a distant shadow, another contact. Unlit, likely electronic support. Inside CIC, operators recalibrated displays manually, cross-checking with optical bearings and the MH-60R last stable feed. The tactical picture shrank from certainty to noise. Communications with the USS Cincinnati degraded, voice cut to bursts. Philippine Coast Guard surveillance overhead confirmed 4 plan hulls but could not maintain real-time feed. The commanding officer weighed escalation protocols. Rules were explicit. No aggressive maneuver, no illumination, no weapon alignment. Yet each second of delay let the encirclement tighten. Maintain presence, came the direction from 7th Fleet. For the bridge crew, the stakes were unspoken but clear. 1 misread tone lock, 1 radar lobe mistaken for fire control, and the situation would detonate politically before a missile ever left a tube. In the haze, assertive navigation had become a contest of nerve and bandwidth. The South China Sea looked calm, but its airwaves were at war. On board, the navigator chalked a grease pencil track on the bridge windows while the TAO rehearsed non-kinetic plays. Course jinks, MCON shifts, low-band voice hails. Any metal-to-metal scrape here would echo to capitals by nightfall, pulling treaties, markets, and headlines into its wake. At 10:12 a.m., Higgins's SPY-1DV screens flickered back to life, patchy but functional. The Chinese formation was clear now. 2 destroyers ahead, 2 astern, all within visual range. 4 contacts confirmed, no illumination yet, the TAO reported. The bridge went silent except for the hum of fans. Higgins held course, but every degree of rudder meant an interpretation yielding or challenging. The air between hulls was dense with intent. A burst of noise tore across the net. The planned flagship hailed in Mandarin, "U.S. warship, you are entering Chinese waters. Leave immediately." Higgins replied, calm and measured, affirming navigation in accordance with international law. Static devoured the rest. On radar, a spike appeared. 1 destroyer had gone high-power track mode, a near lock. CIC logged it quietly, tension vibrating through deck plates. The MH-60R, orbiting east to avoid jamming, sent blurred IR images, 4 hulls closing the box. Higgins executed a deliberate high-rate turn to port, cutting through the formation at minimum CPA. 10 seconds of stillness, 4 warships at combat readiness, none firing. The box cracked open, but the pressure stayed. Link 1, 6 blinked unstable. SLQ-32 flagged deceptive range. Gate pulls. Voice circuits dropped to brevity codes. The Cincinnati checked in once, then vanished in noise. Orders remained. Presence, no escalation. Weapons hold. The crew shifted to analog plots and manual bearings, sweat-streaking screens. The TAO initiated a low-band hail, repeating the deconfliction message in clear, slow English. Helm held a steady port bias. ESM bearings drifted, then settled. A brief data link from the helo slipped through the jam like a needle through static enough to rebuild partial situational awareness. The captain's voice cut through. Maintain discipline. No one flinches. They had trained for this signal blindness, radar tone locks, seconds from provocation. The South China Sea had become a chessboard played by ghosts, and as the two sides held their nerve, viewers would have felt the same question rise. If you were on that bridge, would you hold position or break formation first? Tell us, press 1 to hold your ground, press 9 to break free. By 10:21 a.m., the sea was a tangle of noise and geometry. The planned destroyers adjusted formation again, forming a staggered diamond, one crossing ahead of Higgins, one sliding along her starboard beam, two closing aft. CPA 1,000 yards and shrinking, navigation call. The Combat Information Center worked in near darkness, red lights reflecting off damp bases. The captain ordered MCON shift partial silence, selective transmissions only. SPY-1DV cycled between active and passive modes to limit exposure. Each emission risked escalation. Each blackout invited blindness. The crew walked that razor's edge, trusting training and instinct. SLQ-32 caught fresh jamming bursts complex, pulsed, testing Aegis filters. Then came false targets. Ghost echoes drifted across radar scopes, mimicking missile tracks, triggering warning tones. Hold, false returns! The TAO snapped. No weapons armed, but fingers hovered near safeties. Higgins pivoted to manual validation, optical confirmation, ESM crosscheck, and MH-60R relay through narrow signal windows. The helo pilot reported multiple radar sweeps from below, matched to Luoyang-class systems. 10:26 a.m., the first close pass. A planned destroyer crossed Higgins' bow at under 1,200 yards. Wake spraying white over gray. Cameras rolled. Bridge crews visible through binoculars. The American ship held course, engine steady, neither yielding nor provoking. Every eye watched for a collision that never came. From the aft deck, sailors watched the Chinese hull slide past, flags snapping in the wind. Some whispered disbelief, others clenched jaws, silent. The captain's voice came over the net. No course change unless ordered. We stay predictable. Predictability was survival, the only thing preventing misfire in a sea full of sensors. The airwaves hissed with competing beacons, encrypted calls, and coded bursts. Jamming thickened, cutting internal comms. CIC reverted to sound-powered phones. The MH-60R widened orbit, acting as the lone eye beyond the interference haze. As the tension stretched thin, each ship's next move would decide how far brinkmanship could go before breaking. And now, as both sides stared across less than a mile of gray water, would you hold steady and risk collision, or turn away and concede the line? Press 1 to stand firm, press 9 to break off. At 10:32 a.m., the pattern changed. The jamming stopped. The sudden silence inside CIC was almost physical, heavy enough to make every breath sound loud. For a few seconds, radar screens cleared clean, perfect, unnervingly so. Ew, quiet! That's not good, the TAO murmured. Then, ghost tracks appeared again, but this time they mirrored Higgins herself. The SPY-1DV began painting duplicates of its own radar return, reflected and multiplied across the sector. The planned ships had shifted from brute force jamming to refined deception. Each echo tracked as a U.S. destroyer, moving precisely in formation, creating 3 Higgins signatures within 5 miles. They're spoofing our profile, ESM confirmed. CIC switched to optical crosschecks, binocular range finding, and gyro bearings. The MH-60R low-band feed confirmed the reality. The real ship was alone, flanked by false echoes stitched from manipulated radar reflections. At 10:37, 2 new planned contacts appeared on the eastern edge of the scope. Type 52D, moving fast, closing the gap the others had left open. the encirclement reformed seamlessly, as if rehearsed. Orders from the captain were calm, deliberate. Full IMCON, no transmission. The bridge dimmed to near darkness. Helm adjusted 1 degree at a time, letting the false targets drift ahead while the real ship slid beneath the haze of deception. The Higgins had become a ghost, maneuvering silently inside a bubble of distortion. The only sounds were the steady beat of turbines and the low hum of filtered air. Outside, the sea looked calm again, but every sailor aboard understood. The real battle wasn't over territory, but over truth itself. 10:44 a.m. The silence broke not through sound, but motion. One of the planned destroyers accelerated, slicing across Higgins' projected path at less than 800 yards. The American crew held their breath. The captain's voice came sharp but calm. "Hard starboard, 25 degrees, execute." The destroyer rolled into a high-rate turn, turbines howling as the wake fanned white. The maneuver was not aggression, it was survival. On radar, the deception thickened. False echoes multiplied. The system now showed 6 Higgins-class returns. CIC switched fully to optical command, bearing by bearing, stopwatch timing. Helm feedback shouted across the bridge. Maintain CPA. Keep power constant. Every instruction had to cut through noise and adrenaline. Outside, the horizon folded into haze. The planned ships moved like blades in formation, trying to close again. The MH-60R, low on fuel, relayed its final fix before withdrawing its last transmission, a single image. Higgins threading between destroyers at under 1,000 yards, white water exploding against steel. Down in CIC, sweat pooled beneath headsets. Pens scratched frantic notes on plotting boards. 10:48 a.m. An unexpected pulse hit the ship's sensors. A coordinated radar sweep from multiple vectors, like a wall of energy. The SPY-1DV flickered, screen stuttering, then stabilizing. The EW officer smiled for the first time. They overcooked it, signal overlap, mutual interference. The Chinese jamming had become too strong, their systems blinding each other. The captain seized the moment. All ahead, flank course 245. Execute evasive turn. Higgins lunged forward, slicing through a gap less than 2 miles wide. For 90 seconds, she was invisible, her real track buried under ghost echoes. When the radar cleared again, the ship had broken the ring. Contact range increasing. No pursuit, the TAO reported. The bridge stayed silent for a long breath before the captain finally said, "Stand down from condition 1. Well done." Every system hummed in low relief. The sky had returned to blue, but nobody trusted it. The battle had left no smoke, no wreckage, only exhausted men and corrupted data. In an age of invisible warfare, that was victory enough. By 11:03 a.m., the sea was empty again. The radar returned to normal noise, the kind that meant peace. The planned destroyers had turned away, their wake stretching east in slow, deliberate arcs. No radio hails, no formal end, just distance. The Higgins slowed to 10 knots, engines easing into a steady hum. Inside CIC, the red lights faded to white. The crew moved quietly, clearing plots, logging events, copying tapes. The adrenaline had drained, leaving behind the dull ache of relief. Up on the bridge, sunlight cut through the haze. The captain stood by the forward windows, headset off, watching the horizon as if waiting for it to move again. "Log time of separation," he said, voice low. The officer of the deck complied, hands still trembling slightly. On the chart table, grease pencil lines crisscrossed like scars, every correction, every maneuver, every near miss. At 11:09, the MH-60R returned, fuel nearly spent, rotors shimmering in the heat. Its sensor feed would later show the battle's true shape. No shots fired, no damage, yet an engagement fought entirely in electrons, noise, and nerve. Messages from 7th Fleet arrived minutes later. No further action. Maintain readiness. Short, clinical, detached. But for those aboard, the meaning was clear: this wasn't over. The next encounter could begin the same way and end very differently. In the wardroom, coffee steamed over half-empty cups. No one spoke loudly. Someone muttered, "We never fired a shot." and still felt like we fought? Heads nodded. The war now lived in frequencies and restraint. Outside, the South China Sea shimmered under the noon sun, deceptively calm. The scars of that invisible clash lingered not on steel, but in memory and in the data logs that would be studied for years. And you watching from afar, what do you think kept the peace that morning? Strength or restraint? Tell us below. Press 1 if you believe it was discipline. Press 9 if it was deterrence.